very expensive, and it may not satisfy our obligations.
Still kids coming.
Yes, that's the problem.
I have a second
If we-
question, and the timer is ringing, so I want to ask it. If we had, what do you think the probability is?
On January 7th,
I wanna get
no, let me just explain. You hit on a very important point that's been glossed over. On January 7th, we received the expert reports of our adversaries. And after reviewing it and digesting it, they were making arguments that our obligation was way higher than 77. They were arguing it was 221 to over 300. So there was a lot of risk that we could have an obligation that's over the moon.
So now, my second question for you is exactly related to what you're just saying.
But they had compiled a significant experts that were advocating for very high numbers. And ultimately, the most persuasive voice in the room was the court-appointed master. And there was a very good likelihood that that master would be recommending a number significantly higher than what our plan was, because our plan was aggressive.
So you think that there's more than a 50% chance that we'd have a number like 250?
No, I'm not
affordable
going to.
units?
First of all,
I'm
this is
pressing you.
public,
That
and I
was-
wouldn't say anything. We're, in a litigation. But what I will say is there's risk.
Well, of course there's risk. There's always
substantial
risk. The
No,
question is,
This isn't like, oh, there's always risk. This is like there is serious risk. The numbers could go very high. I can't tell you what this judge is going to rule in the end, but I can tell you that the parties were very far apart about what the number should be.
what I hear you saying, and you're not saying it, but what I hear you saying is that it's worse than a coin flip.
Yes.
That's what my ears hear you say.
Well, that's not what he told our
You didn't say
planning
it, but that's
board.
what I hear.
And by the way, do you really expect your adversary to agree with you on anything? I've been doing deals for 29 years. No one ever agrees. You fight.
I think there's some misconception. The
You fight, and then
77
you get
is
to the
not
point where you
a
settle
definite
it.
set plan. If it was, everyone would be on board. It is before the court to decide. We are asking for 77. It might come back at 150. It might come back at 200. We have no idea.
If you don't fight, you don't know.
We're just
I've
asking
never
for
met
the
people
77.
not willing to fight for what they think is right, to fight for
Already
you.
at 170.
It's
We lose,
unbelievable.
Mayor, we lose all control. You could wind up with 800 units. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I call fear mongering, okay? Because that's fear mongering. There's no court, even in New Jersey, that's going to double your population because of affordable housing. That's fear mongering, okay?
Tell them.
Try running a campaign on fear mongering next time. You'll see what you do.
It's fear mongering. If we do it ourselves and it's 150 units, you will have
All right,
more
the resident
children
has the floor.
than if you let Normandy build 400.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Lauren Eastwood, four-wheeler drive.
Hold it close.
Lauren Eastwood, four-wheeler drive. First of all, I would like the slides that were up on the overhead to be made available on the borough's website, because I was sitting in the first row and I couldn't read a lot of them. So I can't imagine what it was like for the people in the back row. Second of all, I think the valuations that you are using to reach a $3 million revenue projection are ridiculous. You are valuing these townhouses higher than the townhouses at the Heights in Tenafly are selling at. And the Heights in Tenafly has one thing we don't have: Tenafly High School.
Yes.
You're valuing the apartment building right around where the Modern in Fort Lee is valued. The Modern is a skyscraper with incredible views and no affordable housing in it. I don't think you're going to get the same valuation on that apartment building that you're going to get on the Modern. Just me, but we've had some questions with regard to people with conflicts. We have one councilwoman, Savari, who lives within 200 feet. Now, on the planning
Everybody
board,
is conflicted. We've had this conversation.
Everybody on the
stop
board.
interrupting me.
I will interrupt you. If you're speaking
are
about
really-
me,
Order,
if
order,
you're speaking about me, I will interrupt you.
order.
You are really rude.
So are you.
Every time we're in a meeting,
Okay, Councilwoman Park, please.
you attack all of us. Look at the video.
I am
Go ahead.
really feeling like my civil rights are being violated, and that I am being bullied into not exercising my First Amendment right. Ms. Savari lives within 200 feet of 800 Sylvan. On the planning board, when we're on the 200-foot list, we have to recuse. No if, ands, or buts. We have to. Ask Judge Frisha about that. Councilman Aversa has a property on on East Palisade Avenue, which seems to go in and out of the overlay zone. But not now, but
Not in the overlay zone, but it was in the previous plan
and
by the previous administration.
But since his property is potentially in the overlay zone, I have some concerns about
Potentially, it's
him.
All right, please stop interrupting the residents. Please.
We can tell you it's not, and you're like, potentially.
At the moment, it was before, it may be again. And while it was in, you shouldn't have been participating. Normandy. Anybody done any research into Normandy? Normandy. Has anybody done any research into Normandy's history? Because if you had done even a rudimentary Google search, you would have discovered this isn't the first town they pulled this on. They did the exact same thing to Harrison, New York on their Platinum Mile. So this is their modus operandi.
It was actually a little different. Harrison welcomed that in. So if you did your research, you'd know that.
Finally, we're sitting here with Ms. Savari trying to bring affordable housing to Englewood Cliffs. Ms. Savari is trying to bring affordable housing
I'm not
into
trying to
Englewood
bring
Cliffs.
anything.
But
The Supreme Court has decided.
Will you stop interrupting?
interrupting me?
Well, she's speaking of me again.
Will you stop interrupting her?
Not
You
if she
can't
speaks
take
of
the
me.
heat, get out of the fire.
No, I'm just responding to you.
But in her own company, and she is president of a residential real estate
No, actually it's
developer.
commercial.
What about 211 Sherman?
That's one development.
And then,
I'm proud of it too.
you know, she's,
What is your question regarding
All right,
stop interrupting me.
thou protester too much.
That's too much.
And this is public comment, so I get to comment if I want to comment instead of asking questions.
Thank you.
But in your project in Carroll Gardens, New York City wanted you to put affordable housing in
Actually,
there,
downtown
and you fought it tooth and nail.
No, we didn't. That was never an affordable housing project.
The Brooklyn.
If you're asking me
I'm gonna-
about my business, I'm
Let's
letting you know.
let Ms. Savari
It
vent,
was
so she
never
feels this
affordable
urge to
housing.
vent, and then you will have
I'm
your time.
answering her question.
You're not answering.
Ask you a question.
She's saying it.
Can she speak after she's finished?
I did.
That's a good idea.
Yes, you can speak.
No, because actually,
Well, yeah.
he won't allow me to speak.
All right.
You can point your finger at me, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's be civil. Let the residents speak. Stop harassing the resident.
Okay.
According to this report, you applied for a variance for property in Carroll Gardens. You wanted to convert it from manufacturing use to residential, and they told you you couldn't have the variance unless you put in affordable housing, and some affordable housing units in it, and you wouldn't do it.
No, that's not true. So.
Okay, anybody else wishing to be
Respond there, or
heard?
are you going to cut me off? Yeah, of
Yes,
course
ma'am.
not.
Well, after him.
That's
Him and
again,
then you.
the
Mr.
group
Diggs,
there
are you ready when
that
you can go
continues to
ahead?
get up
said
on
I could go
about
twice.
me.
All right,
and
let the
what I've
residents
done in
speak.
my
I
personal
have a rule.
No.
Hold on a second. I
No.
try to end all meetings in the same
No.
day they started. So
No.
let the residents speak.
Well, how are you going to do that if you
Excuse
let
me,
people speak for
can I
3
speak?
minutes?
Excuse me, can I speak?
Well,
I'm less than here.
So
Excuse me, you are people here. We elect you here to represent us, okay? So it's our turn to speak here. So can you please quiet?
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Mike Lee. I live in 155 Wood Road. I've been listening to you back there 3 hours. We are all here to raise our concern. And I've been listening you, councilwomen, everybody here. I know you work for the town, but don't disrespect residents here. We are here to raise our concern. So when our participation is required, okay? I moved here 2 years ago because this town offers very desirable location, very quiet, tax is low, school is very nice. So I invest my own life savings here to purchase a house. But listening to you people and doesn't seem to work for us.
Yes.
My major concern is, one, I'm not sure why you're so willing to surrender, not to fight the court. Because once they win, and then it's going to open the floodgates. Every out-of-town developers, they're going to come to here. Because they're going to see us, they're going to see we surrender without the fight. And they're going to apply for, they purchase a commercial building here. And they're going to build the project here. Then they see us that, you guys give up the fight so easily. And then, words is out.
Ask him why.
That's right.
Yes.
And my question is, are you willing to fight again? If this Normandy, they build the project, they win the courts, and you surrender the fight, and not to go through the fight. And I want to hear, are you willing to fight?
Can I explain something?
Yeah,
There's
sure.
two paths. Either we try to settle, or we go litigation. And we go litigation. We go litigation. Obviously, we're going to fight to the end. However, I still don't think you guys understand what's happening. All right?
No, I'm afraid this town
Do
turned
you
into like
understand that
excuse
all
me.
the experts, including the one that the mayor hired, Mr. Troutner, said in multiple emails and letters that we will, in all likely, not prevail at trial, okay? So as a defendant in a trial, as the mayor, who's an attorney, should know this, we're the defendants, we're not the plaintiffs, right? So either it's all or nothing at that point, right? And we have no control over what happens. We are going, like he said, we're going to be forced by a judge to tell us what to do and how to do it, and we have no say. Right? So our risk is very great. It's not a small risk.
You seem you give up the fight. So
No, I'm sorry. If you don't being found on the fighters, there's a good, there's a smart way to fight, and there's a stupid
Once
way
you
to go.
let them win,
And that's where we are right now.
once they win, and then it's going to bring all this developer from out of town. I'm afraid this town's going to turn in like a Foley, Palisade Park. Because we have by the river, all this commercial building, they purchase and they turn into a project.
Excuse me, I'd like to add to what was just stated. This is all I have done for the last 36 years. And we've seen all the expert reports from everyone. The court relies on the master. We've spoken at length to the master. We've made our own assessments as to the risk of litigation. They are extraordinary. A settlement offers an opportunity to gain control. Do I like all the demands made on this community? Hell no. But as a lawyer, as an attorney for the town, you look at all the expert reports, you see how the judge is ruling, you assess what standard would be necessary to overturn an adverse judicial ruling at the trial level, and there's risk written all over this. Settlement is an opportunity to manage risk. It doesn't mean you like what you end up with. What it means is you manage your risk.
No,
That's why when I looked at everything and assessed everything and looked at where I thought the matching was going to come out, I saw that there was an opportunity to manage that risk. And it's not everything in this that everyone would want, but it manages the risk and avoids something much worse. And I'm not alone. A mega firm was brought in, and my counterpart looked at the same facts, looked at the same risk, and he said, there's a lot of risk here. How can we manage that risk? As I said before, you settle cases not because you agree with your adversary, you settle cases to manage risk.
No, I think it's too eager to settle the case.
So thank you. I think a couple points. Lawyers do whatever their clients tell them to do. And this council told them to back off, put blood in the water, and surrender, okay? I fight to the end, they fight to the beginning, okay? That's the difference.
This is first time. This is Ben from Bangkok. 255 Alfred Avenue, please. Sure, I'll try my best. Thank you. It has been a long day for me. So, first, I would thank you for the opportunity. The first time I hear more details about option 1, 2, at least we have something to discuss before, these 4 hours is much better than nothing, or still thank you everyone for the time and opportunity. So I wonder, hopefully 80% of information has been provided as the best effort, or what I say, no information key has been hidden. I don't want to see any miscommunication back and forth. Yes, things are still changing. There are lots of uncertainty so far from what I thought. Just give me a couple of minutes. The second one, I'm thinking about the constructive feedback or solutions. I'm a risk manager and I deal with regulator pressure every day, and also I have the cost, the budget. So it's about, yes, we know what's the expectation and what is reality. So I'm thinking about, it's possible to show the phrase, say phase 1, we are going to do this, phase 2, we are going to do that, and we are in the right direction. Of course, the key part is about timing, right? You are not getting everything done by tomorrow. It can be short-term solution for next 2 or 3 years. Maybe we are thinking about 55 units or something. In the long term, yes, if they want us to add more, we add more. Regulation is regulation. You just vote. However, there's still uncertainties. If you cannot say in 2025 what can happen, can we show the in progress instead of 600 units approved today or 400?
You have interesting comments. I'm sure I understood everything you said, but let me.
I'm like the risk manager of risk mitigants.
Well, then you appreciate it. That's what you do. Why do you settle cases? You settle cases to manage risk, right? Not because you agree with your adversary.
The risk is about possibility.
And there's a lot of risk here.
Yeah, every day I say, I identify risk and possibility, just maybe 1 piece.
But
1 out of 1,000.
But you raised an important point. You said, well, what are we going to do with 2025? We're going to have to go through this all over again. The answer is yeah. And the answer is you better get the state riled up to do something meaningful, because there hasn't been a meaningful piece of legislation since 2008, and that made it worse for municipalities.
I don't comment. You are expert. But just from 0 to 100, is there any transition period? It's not saying you get everything done in 1 year. If we can say 20,
because the courts do it all.
Yeah.
Courts
but still
interact.
they give you some time.
Look,
What I feel is
case
like
doesn't
timing.
here's how it works. Case doesn't settle. Judge decides, what is your adjustment? We say it's adjusted down to 77. They say it's adjusted
Based on what time?
200 or 300.
In how many years?
Whatever you come up with, it's only good to 2025. Okay? So the judge says at the end of the day, you're right, the number is adjusted to 77, or you are wrong, the number is 300 plus. How are you going to do it? You know, and how much density? You know, you're negotiating for 400 on
So
Silver.
what's your chance of the to 300? The possibility, if you put a possibility, very high to what number? So more than 50%, right? Very high means 80%.
You know, who knows? I'd be hesitant to state that on the record. This is being all my adversaries will say, and Mr. Serenian
Okay, this
said,
is never ending one, yeah.
you know, so, but there's risk.
I know there's risk,
No,
yes.
but there's significant.
It's about mitigate, right, cost of mitigate. And we are not ready, somehow I feel the school is not ready. The number is so optimistic.
You raised another good point. In the Mount Laurel world, this is a very, very important point. I should have raised it earlier, I apologize. In the Mount Laurel world, no one cares about schools and cost to the citizens. It's not considered. The reality to every
Yes, as a
community.
resident we care, that's why we have our voice. If we don't care, then who should care?
What we're saying is, when we go to the judge in court and say, please, we cannot afford to have all these children come into our school, please lower the number, the judge will say, I don't care, because it has nothing to do with the number of units. Because it's not a factor, it's not a factor.
That's exactly
Thank you,
right.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's the
Okay, so there's one thing that's really important. Hold on. One really important fact point that no one has mentioned tonight, and that is that when you have litigation, you also have discovery and you have sworn testimony. You have depositions, and you get to understand the weaknesses on both sides, right? In this case, not one single ounce of sworn testimony has been taken in over a year and a half. Because they're so willing to just settle, they don't even want to hear how bad the other side is. Is that true, Mr. Serenian? No sworn testimony has been taken in this case? No. Oh, okay, so the response up here is that I'm not a litigator, okay? I've been practicing law 29 years, I run a firm, and I have litigators, and I know what we need to do. And what you have to do is, you have to fight. You have to fight. Don't give anything up.
The residents can see.
Tom
Okay,
Crowder.
let me
Thank you.
There was some deposition. Tom Crowder.
Yes, Russ.
Excuse me, Tom Crowder took some depositions, my co-counsel in this, from the Shahinian firm, and Bob Powell was the first.
Yeah, one that, Mr. Perino, I think we needed to move.
Yeah, just-
Yeah. We need somebody else. He's next.
Yeah,
He's next.
just one point. The memo, I wonder if memo is available or not. I mean, so far everything is like verbal discussion, not so many things in written. I feel like memo is kind of non-binding negotiation. Second one, what's the decision process after this? If decision already or almost made, then it doesn't matter to forget all of my comments. Right.
No decision has been made.
Okay,
What's the plan like?
Thank you. He's next. Russ, after him.
Hi, name is Miles Bay. I'm at 14 Churchill Road, Angle Cliffs. I'm not here to sort of, I understand that we're between rock and hard place, so everyone sort of needs to sort of pull our things together and sort of figure out what to do, what the best outcome is for everyone who is sitting in this sort of auditorium. And given the fact that it's past midnight, but you guys still got a good crowd, means this is very important for every single one of us. I've been living in this town since summer 2017. I'm in finance. I've done work in excess of 16 billion after the financial crisis, so I know a thing or two about numbers and how these things can be very difficult. A couple of things that I'm just going to probably repeat some of the things that people said. When you do come to a conclusion, you do need to come to a conclusion based on good facts. And also, if you cannot get to the facts based on very good estimates. I'm just going to highlight a few things that I think that were grossly sort of misunderstated or misstated. Number one, if you have 400 residence units, how many cars do you think we're going to get? 1.5 probably per unit, right? On the average. How many cars do we think we're going to get? 400, call it 600 cars, right? Because everyone needs a car. 600 cars, picture 600 cars coming down Sylvan Avenue, going down Fort Lee, like between 6:30 to 9 o'clock, rush hour, right? So is the infrastructure that we have in this town big enough, good enough to sustain the explosion of population in this town, going from 5,000 to call it by 1,500. Number two, the school systems. There's no way you're going to convince anyone, even my son who's just graduated from upper school this year, that if there were 400 units of apartments built, 2 to 3 bedrooms, how many kids do you think you're going to get? He's going to say minimum 200. Minimum 200. No. Let me see. And also, so if you take all of that into account, the increase in the cost in maintaining infrastructure, possibly building in new infrastructure, adding to that, it doesn't seem like any of those costs have been baked into the long-term benefit, pros and cons when it comes to making the decision. I'm not for nor against, because I'm still in the process of absorbing all the information, trying to come to a conclusion as to what the right outcome is going to be for the town, right? The thing is that one thing that I'm sorely disappointed is that some of the back and forth with the residents and the council members is really unfortunate. We're a very small town. We could really work together. Angle Cliffs is a wonderful town. I love my neighbors. My kids went through the school system. They love the schools. But unfortunately, we are where we are. But please, just get your common sense back. Like, to get up there and say you're going to put 400 units and there'll be 127 kids. And one last thing that I really do want to say is, 800 Silver Avenue, how much property tax do we get for that? Versus 400 apartment units with 100 affordable housing, the property tax we're going to get. Have you done the comparison? Are we really going to be on the plus side on the tax? I think we're going to actually be on the downside.
Yes.
Look, I don't care I do care what the experts are saying, because they are experts in their fields, and I do get that. But if you think about, again, the comparison to the townhomes in Tenafly, which is right next to us, versus where you think you could sell a 3-bedroom townhouse, 3,000 square feet, 3,500 square feet, in Angle Cliffs. I think you sort of have to get your common senses back and think about where the numbers could be. You cannot just go with one number. You have to have a statistical analysis as to plus minus, what's your confidence interval. You have to go to all of that stuff and come to a reasonable and very well educated conclusion as to what the numbers should be, or most likely would be, and then base your judgment based on that. And that's where I think we have failed miserably. Thank you.
I would like to respond to that. So just so that everybody knows the buildings are 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, correct? So the 1 bedroom apartments will not be having any children, okay? The 2 bedroom by law, right? Because I'm pretty sure by law you can't have children.
I used to always say that at the municipal level we don't deal with social issues, but now I guess we are.
Anyway, so 1 or 2, think of how many children will come out of 1 and 2 bedroom. The 3 bedroom is at issue. And as far as the parking, there is a parking spot for each townhouse with part of the townhouse. It has nothing to do with the actual parking on, let's say, Sylvan, right?
But with all due respect, you're not going to dispute the fact that even if each unit gets 1 car, there's 400 more cars on the streets of Angle Cliffs. Agreed?
So I think his advice was good. We need some common sense up here. That was not common sense.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, professionals. My name is Russ Perino, 220 Fairview Avenue. Is that loud enough? Okay, I'll try to get real close. Okay. So I'm going to try to divide this into 3 or 4 pieces. I'll try to do as fast as I can. The first is the process of what has happened since January through today that I want to comment on.